Another of our lunch and learns here with Action Coaching Birmingham. It's great to have you all with us on this very wet day. Kinnear, is it wet where you are?
Yes, it is, Steve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's it may be raining outside, but it's certainly shining bright in here at Action Coach. We've got great to have you, Kane, with us this lunch and learn lunchtime on Thursday. We're going to be looking today all about systemization and importantly how we can look at specifically finances in our business and understanding those better. Kane, we'll come back to that in a moment. I'll introduce you more formally, but if you're listening to us this lunchtime, you may be listening one of three ways. You could be on Zoom. It's great to have you on Zoom if that's the case, and there's a question and answer box in Zoom for you to submit your questions. You may, of course, be listening to us live either on Facebook or LinkedIn. And if you are, we'd love to know where you're listening to us from. We'd love to know if it's your first time, give us a like, maybe share, comment, and put any questions you have for either myself or Kaneo in the Q&A box or the comments box on either of those social media platforms. We really do want to get some engagement from today's Lunch and Learn. So as I say, today we are really pleased to be welcoming Kaneo from Synergy, talking all about business systems. But Kaneo, I'll just let you introduce yourself. Tell me a bit more about what you do at Synergy.
So Synergy, in a nutshell, we build we help businesses with automation and building systems. Essentially, in a nutshell, we help them to get more efficient, save time, and make money.
Brilliant. So
Leveraging
there's a lot of
technology.
synergy between what you do at Synergy and what we do here at Action Coach, helping business owners, as you say, to save time and ultimately, increase the bottom line through systemization. And I always think, there's a great quote: in order for any business to succeed, it must first become a system so the business functions exactly the same way every single time, down to the last detail. And I often think of, the biggest organizations that are franchises. What they've done is they've recorded a great system and then franchised it out across the world. And I think the best known of those is obviously McDonald's. Why do we have young people working at McDonald's? It's because they are following a great system. And Kaneo, I don't know if you remember, obviously you're not a stranger to us here at Action Coach. You've been doing lunch and learns with us on a number of occasions. And last time we were together, Kaneo, we talked about making cups of tea, didn't we?
Absolutely. And it's amazing how many steps it takes to make a cup of tea, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we had a number of people, sort of guessing on how many steps. I think we had everything from 5 to 100. And I think, on the screen there's about 60 steps, I think. And some of those steps add value, some are decision-making points, but it's understanding the process and the simple task of making a cup of tea. And also, of course, we talked about the context as well. If you're making the tea at home, or indeed if you're making the tea in a commercial setting. And then the advantage of tea makers and how that can cut down the steps. But it's a similar. We talk about cups of tea, but it's a similar in any aspect of our business, isn't it? Whether it's whether it's sales or marketing, whether it's looking at how our teams can work better together, looking at the production process in our organizations. But today, as I said at the very beginning, Kaneo, it's really, we are wanting to look at the finances and how we can really maximize the opportunity. And I guess once we have great systems and understand our finances better, we can then have much more effective conversations and useful conversations with our accountants, and ultimately, as you say, free up time so we can do other things and maximize our opportunities in the business. But Kaneo, I know you've got some slides you want to share. I just repeat while we're just sharing the screen there, if you're listening to us today and you have any questions at all, please do put them in the Q&A box, and we'd happily respond to them as we're going through today's lunch and learn. But Kaneo, did you want to, if I stop sharing my screen, you're very welcome to share your slides and share what you have to tell us this lunchtime about systemizing our finances.
Fab. So let me know if you can see my screen, Steve.
I can, yeah, absolutely.
Good. So thanks again for having us here today, Steve. Like you said, we've been on different other lunch and learn. But today, like you said, one of the things that we looking to do is to deep dive a little bit around how business can use automation, really. So I mean, if you're familiar with this, Steve, but if anybody's been if anybody's been to any of Steve's workshops, then you should be familiar with the 6-step process that Action Coach uses to build a business that can run without you, or that can work without you, the owner.
We talk about a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you, Kaneo. That's the phrase that we're all working to.
That's what I was looking for, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Each of these steps is a part of that.
Absolutely. So, but what I thought I would do, because you mentioned the synergy between what we do and what Action Coach does, is to kind of do an overlay of what our solution is and how that fits in with any business, really. So I mean, Action Coach talks about time delivery systems and technology, right? And what we do as a company really is to help businesses to leverage technology to have, as a business owner, to have more time to work on the business, and while at the same time delivering excellent service to their clients, right? And by having those systems and technology, you can deliver consistently to your clients. So what we do is we help bookkeepers and accountants to leverage automation tools and systems to build the kind of business that can work without them, streamline their processes, automate it, remove all the manual tasks so that they can scale it more easily, right? And so today, what I thought I would do is to share kind of like what we see as a piece of technology that really could work in any business, but this is more from a finance and accounting perspective. That makes sense, right? So if you are looking to build a bookkeeping operation while working 4 hours a day, then this is the number one productivity hack that the business needs to have in 2021. Okay, so on that basis, so if you think about it, so I call this a tale of two different bookkeepers. So we have, if you think of any bookkeeping service, there are 6 different activities or roles that they play for their clients, and it goes anywhere from, first thing that they do is making sure that you record all the activities, double check activities for clients in different formats. It could be paper-based or it could be digitized. Hopefully you've gone digital by now. Prepare reports which you either give to the business or submit to regulatory bodies like HMRC, and then potentially you should be interpreting those financial reports to your clients, and then advising them on how best to reduce cost and how best to be a bit more efficient. And then ultimately, the highest level role that you can play is to become a trusted advisor, which means that you are signposting your clients to different resources or experts or professionals that can help them in their business, right? So, and on that basis, what we've done is we've drawn a line of demarcation between what we call the box standard old school bookkeepers and a 21st century bookkeeper, right? Now, the old school bookkeeper is, as we well know, these are people who typically what they do is they help their clients to maintain good financial records, right? Make sure they don't get fined by HMRC, make sure that their books are in good order, and so on and so forth, right? But they don't add any additional benefit. Then you think of the more forward-thinking 21st century type bookkeepers who now go the extra length of interpreting those records on behalf of their clients so that they understand the difference between an income statement, P&L, and cash flow statement, or their balance sheet. So balance sheet tells you, as an example, the value of your business at any point in time. Cash tells you how much cash you have in the business, and P&L tells you the profitability and what your revenue looks like. That Action Coach says, Steve, profit revenue is, do you want to complete that for me? Revenue is reality. No, cash. I know cash is reality, and all that. But in any case.
Yes, cash is reality. Revenue is. Oh, I'm trying to think of the phrase now. My mind's gone blank. I know cash is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll carry on. We'll carry on.
We'll carry on. Yeah. So, but essentially, it's helping clients to understand that. So you have the 21st century ones who they see their roles as helping their clients to achieve their financial goals. Okay. Now, given that, you find that what we tend to find is that the old school bookkeepers spend at least 80% of their time doing good, just maintaining the records on behalf of their clients. All right. And then those 21st century forward-thinking bookkeepers spend up to 20% of their time just advising clients on how to make their business better. Okay.
It's turnover is vanity. Profit is sanity.
That's it.
Cash
That's
is king.
it.
That's the one we're looking for.
Absolutely. Right. So, but the idea is, so if as a bookkeeper you're able to add more value to your clients, obviously you retain them for longer, and then you become the go-to source. Almost more and more, the chances of you getting more and more clients is higher. But the challenge is, and as we're going to see further down the road, is how are you able to do that? How are you going to spend more of your time doing the value add when you have all these 80% of manual, repetitive, mundane tasks going on in the business. Okay, so contextually, if we're thinking we need to build £1 million bookkeeping firm working 4 hours a week, how is that even feasible, right? So let's see what it needs to look like. So let's assume that you're a bookkeeping firm and your average client stays with you for 3 years. They have no employees, generate this kind of transactions, 150 monthly invoices, 160 PayPal transactions, and so on. And then you only have to do director payroll for them, and they pay you £150 a month. Okay. Now, if I had to put a value to your business, then the process I'll go through are as follows. So first, I understand what your fixed income is. I understand what your existing client churn is, 5%, right? If I take that 150 divided by 5%, it gives me your client lifetime value, which in this case is £3,000. It could be more or less depending on the firm in question. And then, but if we're looking to achieve a 1 million valuation, that suggests that you need to have about 334 clients. Okay, so which is simple. So that could be a target that a business could set for itself in 2021, 22. Depends on them, really. All we're doing is giving them, or hopefully get them thinking about what is possible, right? So 334 clients.
Just reminds me, Kaneo, of some of the simple things we talk to many of our clients about is understanding the basic numbers of your business. Not necessarily a financial number, but how many clients you've got. What's their average turnover? How many times are they buying from you? It's understanding that. It's so important, isn't it, to then take it to the next level?
Absolutely.
So if you don't know how many clients you have right now and you're listening to us this lunchtime, please get in touch because we'd love to have that conversation.
Absolutely. And yeah, highly recommended. There's that initial business health check that you do, isn't?
We do, yes. Yeah, the 6 steps business health check, which goes through the slide that you showed earlier on, Kaneo, and we talk through each area of that. And again, we talk about, some of these simpler aspects of the business, such as numbers, how many clients, etc., but also marketing and everything else. But I can talk a bit more about that at the end. Absolutely.
Okay. Fab. All right. So now we understand what the target is, 334 clients. So if you have 334 clients, the valuation of your business will be about $1 million. Okay. Now the challenge or the problem is, an average bookkeeper can only really service 30 clients effectively on their own. So above 30 clients, they need to get someone else in. All right. So that means that with those kind of numbers, the valuation of an average small business bookkeeping practice should be about 105. Okay, but we're thinking that there is another way. There's a way you should be able to grow your client base without increasing headcount or the number of hours that you work, because really your business should give you more life, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. That's what we're all here for.
Absolutely. So let's first understand a day in the life of a bookkeeper. So typically that's what they do. So day in the life includes working very long hours, doing manual repetitive tasks, right? And these are the kind of things that they do, everything from recording financial transactions, cross-referencing them, creating and sending invoices, making sure invoices from suppliers are accurate in Hopdog, in Xero, Sage, as the case may be, calculating payroll and deductions, and creating pay slips and generating reports for HMRC. Very basic stuff, right? This is what takes up 80% of their time. Okay. And as they grow, the hours spent doing those activities are not going to get any less. If anything, they're going to get more and more. So getting to a £1 million valuation requires that every bookkeeping services firm, and any firm really, so I know we're using this as an example, but any firm really should be doing 3 key things in their business. They should first eliminate tasks, find new ways of avoiding things that don't really matter, delegate tasks, hand over things that are non-critical, that are critical but not essential, to lower skilled resources either within or outside the business, and as much as possible find ways to root out mundane tasks and automate them. All right. So the more you're able to do that, the more you're able to scale your business, right? But the question is, are you able to do that? Well, you know that as you're increasing headcount, that means that you're potentially increasing the number of, you're lowering the quality of service that you deliver if you haven't got systems to manage those resources, right? So we think there's a better way. And we're finding that the best and most cost effective is by deploying software robots, right? So I know you're going to ask me what software robots are, Steve.
Well, I'm not going to, but Simon has already messaged on the chat box. What is a robot? So, but also, just to that you got the word freedom there in red, and it just always doesn't surprise me. But every business owner I talk to, I say, why did you start the business? What was it you wanted to? Where do you want to go? And sometimes we get a bit of a the tangible benefits, but usually it comes down to freedom and choice. And how many business owners who start with that intention, but actually when I have that conversation, how's the journey going? That's not the journey they're on right now. That aspiration to have that freedom and choice, it's got lost somewhere in the midst of being, running a very busy business in difficult times. And I think, it's really important to think about how we can automate, how we can delegate and eliminate some of the chaos, some of the chaos in our business that is taking our time away from what's really important. So just, again, such synergy in what we talk about and what you're talking about here, Kano, it's really good stuff.
Absolutely. And you're quite right, Steve. So it's really about freedom of choice, so that you can have the life that you want, to work when you want, how you want, and still make the amount of money that you want. Right.
But back to Simon's question, because he just messaged in and say, what do you mean by robot? So yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us what you mean?
Okay, good. So what's a robot? So I'll tell you what it isn't. So robot isn't a walking, talking Autobot or droid, or if you have one of these robo vacuum cleaners, it's not one of those. It's not Siri or Alexa. So simply put, a software robot is a computer program that mimics human action on laptop or desktop computers, right? So he can do the same kind of thing. He uses keystrokes and mouse clicks to do the same kind of jobs that we do on desktop and laptop computers. Now, these softwares can either be activated manually through a command line interface, or they could be scheduled to run at particular times of the day, week, month, quarter, as the case may be. And I think talking about it and seeing it, I think seeing it will probably bring it more to life than just talking about it. So what I thought I would use the next few minutes to do is to give examples of the robot in action. So I think that will help Simon to understand how these robots actually work in real life. Should we do that, Steve?
I think it's the first for us here at Action Coach Lunch and Learns to have a live robot demo as we eat our lunch today. So go for it. I'd be really intrigued myself. I mean, I've seen similar, I'm sure, but it'd be good to see what you've got to share, and most importantly for our listeners and our viewers to see what you mean and what in practice these robots can do. So go for it.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to look at 3 different scenarios. The first one is going to be but before we do that, Steve, I wanted to give a slight case study so that it brings it to life, really. So if you had to choose between scaling your business using human workers versus robots, complementing your human workers, right? What the value to your business could be. So I thought I'll give an option. So option 1 will be, so the standard traditional way of scaling will be to get in an additional junior accounts clerk, right? And let's assume in this case, the junior accounts clerk has 30 transactions a month per client to deal with, and plus director pay slips, right? But it takes them, key thing to look at, takes them about a minute to deal with a bank transaction, bank reconciliation task, supply invoice about 2 minutes, and then an average director only payroll 15 minutes, okay? And he works about 8 hours a day. On the other hand, a software robot doing the same transaction levels will do a bank reconciliation in about 15 seconds, supply invoice in 30 seconds, and average director only payroll in about 3.2 minutes, right? So there's already time savings just by doing that. Then add to that the fact that the robot works 24 hours a day, 27 days a week, 365 days, no sick leaves, no annual vacations. It can keep working all year round. And then you can imagine the exponential value of complementing your human workers with software robots. All right. So if you were to go down the traditional route and increase headcount, these are kind of like the numbers that you get, right? So at the time you're hitting 300 clients, you're probably needing to get 7 new members of staff, right? And that will be an increase in cost, a reduction in profitability. Okay. But on the other hand, if you decided to keep that member of staff and get a robot to walk alongside them, what ends up happening is that you scale your business to those 300 additional clients without an increase in headcount. Don't know if that makes sense, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And you've beat. I had a question from Abida saying, "Are you going to compare the costs?" So you're one step ahead of most of our listeners and viewers this lunchtime, Kane, which is great. But absolutely, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? The cost saving over that time is huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're not saying don't get people in, just get the right people in. So all of a sudden, so if I was the business owner, what I'm doing now will be I'll be looking to get a higher skilled person to take over my 30 clients that I have to do myself, or take over the higher value work, or to start doing the higher value work, and then pass on the more mundane, lower skilled, rule-based tasks to these robots, right? Because that's what they're built to do. They do it all year round. And then you can do more of the interpretation and the advisory and the signposting them to where the resources are that will help them to grow their business. Okay. So back to let's get to the exciting part. So that all that was preamble. Let's get the robots
out.
Let's get the robots out. All right. So we've done 7x increase in productivity, 9K monthly savings on staff salaries. Okay. So
huge numbers, aren't they? Absolutely huge.
Absolutely. But only if they are looking to grow, Steve.
And what I would say is many business owners I talk to, not necessarily clients of ours, but many business, they all focused on the cost savings, and I understand that in the current climate, but absolutely it's about also looking at the other side of that, as you said there quite rightly, the business productivity as well.
Absolutely. Good. Now for the robot, Steve. The moment everybody's been waiting for.
Out.
Good. So bank reconciliation is one of the tasks that takes up a lot of time, right? So what I'm going to do in this demo is I'm going to get out a robot and get the robot to do these activities. So what we're going to see is the robot open Google Chrome physically, navigate to Zero, log in with his own username and password, navigate to an organization, a client organization in this case, click on a business account, reconcile transactions automatically, matched by Zero. And if the transactions are not automatically matched by Zero, it's going to perform a find and match. If transaction is not found, the robot will actually leave a note for a supervisor to manually treat those transactions. Hopefully they are the minority, because they've configured the rules. And if the robot finds that a part payment has been made through the bank, looking at the bank feed, is going to split the invoice using a unique identifier that's been marked. In this case, it could be an invoice number or something, and reconcile the transaction. If it notices, on the other hand, that multiple payments have been paid and there are multiple references against that transaction, it's going to mark that to Zero and reconcile. Does that make sense? Good.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
Good. So let's get started. All right. So
just a question, if somebody hasn't got sort of QuickBooks Zero, can robots still help their business in the same way, or do you need to have sort of access to that sort of software for this to work properly?
No. So Zero and Hopdog, it's just an example. So it could be Zero, it could be QuickBooks, it could be Sage, it could be Free Agent, Cash Flow. Doesn't really matter. The one criteria is that it has to be digital and structure. Yeah. I mean, there are other criteria, but I mean, I think the short answer will be it can work on any application, and that's one of the good things about software robots. So there are other applications that require a bit more invasive. You need to have APIs, you need to do all sorts of integrations and whatnot. But with the kind of this solution, you don't need to have all that.
That's great. That's good to know. It's good to know. It was a question we had on the chat box there. So thanks for that, Kaneo.
No worries. So let's see the robot in action. So what you have here is the command line interface that I mentioned. So this robot is built on UiPath, which is one of the tools that we use for the build. So what you're seeing now is, so I've just clicked on Start, right? And everything else that you're seeing now is being done by the robot. So it's opened Google Chrome, it's logged in with his own credentials, right? And then it's going to start the reconciliation work, right? So it's been
just while it's doing that, Kaneo.
Sorry.
Abida's just asking again, can this work the same way on Mac, on Microsoft? Is it Windows? Does it matter on the platform you're using?
So this is built for Windows.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll probably be the one limitation. Mac is a little bit more restrictive at the moment, so we're focused on the Windows environment.
Good to know. So, good question. Thank you, Abida.
Yes. Okay.
So I've lost your distracted you for your train of thought there. Sorry, Kaneo.
No, that's fine. That's good. Very good question, Steve. But what I was going to say is that, so if you notice, it's done most of the ones that are straight through. So is looked at the all the ones that have been automatically matched by 0. Is found them, is done the reconciliation, and is finished with them. So all it's doing now is the ones that were not automatically matched. It's now going through, looking to doing a find and match to see whether it can find transactions, and if it doesn't find a transaction, is actually being thought to leave a note. So what's the typing that you're seeing on the screen is being done by the robot, not by human, not by a person, right?
Yeah.
And if it finds transactions in there, as you will see further down the line, if it finds any transactions that are matching, then you'll perform all the other activities. So I don't know if there are any, while that's happening, if there are any other questions. Are there any questions in the chat box?
There's nothing else coming at the moment, but please everyone keep submitting your questions either on the LinkedIn, the Facebook, or on the Q&A in Zoom here. And no, just somebody's typing, but it's not come up yet, Kaneo. So it's just out of interest, how long does this process take on average?
So for these are 28 transactions that it needs to go through. It does it in just over 6 minutes.
Wow. Yeah.
And just to give you to put a context around it, typically doing something similar to this. So when I had to do it myself, it took me almost a minute to complete. Right. Almost it took me almost an hour to complete.
So I'm going to say an hour. I'm going to say if it's a minute, then you're quicker than the robot. But so 6 minutes for the robot and an hour of your time, and you're experienced in the software as well. Yeah. Simon's just asking, how long does it take to set these systems up, in terms of it may be quick once up and running, but actually the setup process, is that days, is it weeks, is it hours? What's the timing?
The entire process. So how the process works, Steve, is first we need to understand how they work, because it's not an over-the-counter solution that you just buy a plug and play. We need to actually do the whole understand the systems that they use, understand the process, how they actually do the process work themselves. So we need to watch them, observe them. But once we've done that, then the design, build, and deploy usually happens within 2 to 3 weeks.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So not horrendous. I mean, as we were saying earlier on, it would take you longer than that to recruit a junior clerk, junior accountant. So
absolutely.
If you think of it in that way, it's it's not too bad at all.
Yeah. So Steve, just hold that thought. I wanted to show you this. So this is an example where as you can see here, for the 500, and it's done a find and match. And what the robot is now doing is actually trying to match the invoice numbers against what you have here. And if they are all matching, it's going to now do the reconciliation. So you're going to select the 2 transactions and reconcile it.
Right. So it's found a slight anomaly, and it's going to reconcile.
It's going to reconcile on that basis.
And there needs to be some human interaction at that point, so you can get to what would not.
So there's no human interaction at all. So the human interaction happens prior to the build. So it's understanding the rules. So go back to having rules and having processes for how you do things. Once we understand what the process is, step 1, step 2, step 3, all the good things that Action Coach is all about, understanding all that.
Absolutely.
Once you've defined that, then we can use that to configure or program the robot to do exactly what you would do.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a lot of work there's some work to be done up front, and it does 2 things actually. I think for any business that we've worked with, is for the first time it actually forces the operators to think about how they do things, right, and look for opportunities to actually improve some of the ways that they do things and streamline wherever possible.
Yeah, and that's it's a great point actually. I think many clients I've been working with over the lockdown 1 and lockdown 2 have used that opportunity to really reflect on every aspect of the business, and certainly I've been encouraging them to do that. Look at every processes across the organization to see where they can save time, whether it's their equipment, whether it's their marketing, their sales process, production, if they're if they produce and sell physical goods as well, their buying and selling processes, everything, and this forces us, and that preparation for this sort of system forces us to think about that, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So I think we've seen enough of this. So, and he's going to keep doing that till he finishes all the transactions, then he moves on to the next one, or to the next client and the next client. The next one this one is a lot shorter. The other two are a lot shorter.
Quick question now is coming from Paul. He's just saying, great to see the robot in action. Does this sort of process work better in some industries than others? So from your experience of different clients you've worked with, is there any industry where you say, actually, this isn't quite the right solution? Or is there some industries where you say, absolutely, this is what you should be doing first and foremost? Pretty universal?
Yes, as always, the answer will be yes. It could work in any. It depends. It depends. But yes, it works better in particular companies than others. I would say some other some sectors maybe. Yeah. So if you think the simple rule will be, if you have a lot of manual digital tasks to do, and they are voluminous. I mean, that could be topic for another day, Steve. We could go into the nuts and bolts of how to select the processes that needs to be automated using robotics. But you're looking at things like volume. You're looking at things like whether they are structured, is digitized, whether the system itself that they use is subject to change, what the variability is in their process. But what we tend to look at it, so that the 4 or 5 critical tasks that are really good for automation, right? From a back office perspective. One is finance and accounting, like we're looking at. Another one is HR. So within HR, there are a lot of admin tasks that you do. So if you think, or if you're thinking of think of the process for selecting candidates or getting new employees, you need to define the role. Once you've defined the role, you have to post the job description on different job boards, and you need to monitor those job boards for applications. Once the applications come in, you need to sort through all those applications using keywords, and then you shortlist the candidates. Once you shortlisted the candidates, you need to set up the interviews, send them emails, receive the emails, and all that. Now, a lot of the activities involved in that can be automated, as an example, all the way through to employee onboarding.
Yeah,
right.
I'm loving your thinking already, Kano, that you're thinking about when you can come back next time, what to talk about. I love that, and it'd be great to we were talking finance today, but it would be great to come back and talk about, HR, marketing, other aspects of the business, and just see what we, where we are aligned, and where we can add value by working with somebody like yourselves as well. It'd be brilliant.
Absolutely. Hope that answers that question.
Sorry, carry on. I don't want to keep interrupting you.
No worries. So next one, we're going to look at supplier invoice and credit note processing in Hopdog. So Hopdog is a different application. It helps you to scan and capture information from documents like receipts and invoices, credit notes, and so on. So what we're going to see. Sorry, go on.
If people are not familiar with Hopdog, that's a bit, I guess it's a commercially available software that can go on Google and find a bit more about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good.
So it could be, again, to preempt the question, it could be Hopdog. So this is not, so the other variation. So you have Hopdog, you have auto entry, you have Receipt Bank, if you've heard of it. So Receipt Bank, these are all different brands that perform similar functions.
Right. Brilliant.
And every business needs to have it, I would say, in this day and age, really. All right, absolutely. So these are all the things that the robot is going to do. So let's get it started. Again, get the robot working by clicking a button. Okay, and then we'll see the robot open Google Chrome, log into, navigate to Hopdog, and log in using his own credentials. In this particular one, so he's going to look at 2 different organizations. He logs into the first one and does a sort through. It looks through the transactions there to see if there's anything for it to work on. It's going to not find anything, and we did it that way. Yeah, so because there's nothing for it to do. So that's typically what you do as a person, is to look through, see whether there's any work for you to do. If there's nothing in my inbox, I move on to the next inbox potentially, right? So he's looking at another client organization, he's seen a transaction and he's going to do the work. So he feeds in the document type, in this case, make sure all the various fields are populated, and he's going to click on publish, which is just done. And then once it's finished with all the clients, it logs out and closes itself. Simple as.
And you keep using this in Chrome. Does it work in other internet platforms as well?
So it works on Firefox. Yeah. So it doesn't really. Right. It's versatile in the sense that I think is once you're on Windows, all the applications that you use, it can use. So it could be a cloud-based application, it could be a desktop-based application. So it can actually open Outlook, read through emails, search for keywords, and perform an action based on what you tell it to do. So train the robot, and it can do anything for you.
Yes, and as you said right at the beginning, each one is made bespoke for the organization depending on the process that they want to follow. Yes. I guess there's going to be a lot of similar processes that are doing similar things, but it's bespoke to the organization.
Yes. Yeah, so you probably find the 80-20 rule. So if we're looking at bookkeepers and accounting services firms, you find that 80% of what they do is similar, and then you have that 20% that is, unique to the organization.
Brilliant.
Okay. And then the last thing I wanted to show was payroll. So payroll is another bottleneck that a lot of organizations have, or bookkeepers have. And in this particular case, we're giving a 12-pay example, but again, it could be 12-pay, bright pay, zero payroll, doesn't really matter. The bot will still do the work based on the training that it receives. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I think you get the idea, Steve. I don't know if there are any particular questions here.
None that I haven't already interrupted you as you've been going along, Kaneo. Clearly got Abida, Simon, Paul, and others who've been asking questions, partly on the practical application of it, in terms of how they can go about setting it up and what the software requirements are, etc. And one or two, as you've seen, about particular questions about cost, etc., and setup of it. So but no, it's absolutely amazing what technology can do. And I was one of those people, I might have said to you before, that in my previous roles before coming to Action Coach, I was the guy walking around with a box or a bag of receipts at the end of the month and in my bag, this coster and that train journey, etc., etc. And technology, in a simple way, there is software out there now that we use here at Action Coach, it's part of the Xero system, actually, that you just photograph your receipt and uploads it onto Xero. It's then about having something that does the reconciliation. That's where your systems come in to make that work and happen. And we do absolutely, if we want to compete, not just compete, but dominate with our business in the current climate and going forward into 2021, we have to harness and embrace and give a big cuddly love hug to technology, because without that, we're going to be left behind. And I think, dare I say, I don't want to go into too much the retail market, sector at the moment, but those organizations that we're seeing falling to the wayside very, very sadly, and I know there's lots of jobs at stake, are those that have been slow to embrace technology. That all the commentators are saying that, and I completely agree. We need to embrace technology in every aspect of our business to stay ahead of the game, not just to stay ahead, but to dominate.
Absolutely. For us to, I believe in survive and thrive. For us to be able to survive and thrive in the current economic climate, we need to, to adopt technology to the fullest. Possible in the broadest possible way. I mean, it's telling that
important.
Go on, Steve.
No, so I think the other important thing to say is it's not about robots and systems technology replacing people in terms of jobs, because it frees up those individuals to add additional value in other aspects of the business. They've got knowledge of how the business operates and knowledge of the vision and the purpose of the business. They can add value in other areas of the business. Whilst robots can free up some of their time, that's my own view. It's never going to replace a person entirely, but it's about freeing up some of their time so they can add value in other parts of the business.
I was going to say exactly that, Steve. So I was just going to point to an example. So you and I have been talking for the last however long, 20, 30 minutes? right? Now we could have
40
been
minutes
talking,
now, Kenneth. 40
yeah,
minutes. Time's
40
flying
minutes.
by.
Exactly. So we could have been talking about business. Could have been talking about, you could have been coaching me on the things to do in my business, right? And while all that is happening, I've got 3 resources running in the background, doing all the work that I would have been doing. So under different circumstances, I would have been like, I haven't got the time to even spend the time with you, the time that I need to grow my business. But because these robots are doing the legwork or the grunt work, it frees me up to actually spend time thinking about the things that I need to be doing in my business.
Absolutely.
And I think that's that message. I think I wanted to really bring it out. And it's to your point, it's not about replacing humans, it's about enhancing what we're able to do as business owners.
And it goes back to a point I make to many of my clients and prospects. When I first speak to business owners about what we can do at Action Coach, the most common response I get is, I haven't got time for the conversation right now, I'm too busy. Apps by having the conversation, by either with ourselves and indeed with yourself as well, Kaneo, it frees up that time. You can multitask in such an efficient way, and that's the only way to drive business forwards, to be able to grow your business, is looking at how you can make better use of the resources you have, ultimately increasing the profit margin on the bottom line. And that's what systemization is all about.
Absolutely, Steve. Well done. So I think that I mean, the process again will continue. Coming back to what the robot is doing, he's going to continue doing all this. It has 3 client organizations to walk through. I think he's working on the final one, so he's going to submit that, and then he's going to close the activity, because that's all he's been assigned to do. And that's it. I think it's done. All right. So again,
Brilliant.
the time that you would have spent doing this has been finished by the robot, right? And today, as we speak, there are loads of organizations that are leveraging this technology to free up time, to save time, so that they can do other things that are more value adding, either to themselves. So you see that people are freeing up time so that they can have more time for their families, or freeing up time so that they can do a bit more marketing or a bit more of the value add client services. There's so much you can do with your free time, right? We have robots saving 572 hours, 275, different types of time savings that people are getting as a result of adopting this technology, right? So yeah, that's it,
some
really.
amazing savings on there. And I guess the other point we've not said is, it's a very simple point, but of course robots can work 24 hours a day. They don't need to sleep, so they can be doing tasks overnight, ready for you to go in the morning, and give that oversight, make any decisions where we need human interaction, but they can run out of hours, so that we don't have to, effectively, so that business owners can work a 9 till 5, or a 10 till 4, or even have a day off, dare I say, which is what the aim is for. We all want to have that commercial profitable enterprise that ultimately works without us. And that starts with looking at how we can, there's 2 aspects to that. One is about getting a great team around you, and that team can include robots. See them as part of your team in your organization. Absolutely. But just those stages, those hours on there, that you can see the savings is huge. And I often say to my clients, what would you do with 572 hours a month?
That would be a good question to ask.
What would that enable you to do? Would that enable you to spend more time with your family? Would it enable you to spend more time looking at other aspects of the business? It's a huge result, and one that I think it's, we should all aim and strive to achieve in our business life. That's why we set up the business in the first place. And the most common answer when I ask people that question is, I go back to what I said earlier on, it's about freedom and choice. Freedom to not go into work that day, freedom to spend time with your family. And I often ask my clients, what would it mean to you? And it's a great thing for perhaps our listeners to reflect on as they go away from lunch and learn today. What would you spend that time on? And I appreciate that, we're not going to, hide behind the fact there is an upfront cost, but then there's an upfront cost to having your staff in place as well. And so it's about making best use of your staff by using them in different parts of business, and then having these robots do some of the other work. So great conversation this lunch. And then, is there anything else you just want to add to what you've said already?
Not much, Steve. I think the only thing is, again, if you're a business owner out there, back to what you're saying, Steve, is, I don't know what happened there.
I've just shared my screen. So did you want to share yours still?
No, that's all right. Yeah, so I was just going to say that, I mean, for anybody that really that's keen to get started, one of the things that we do, an opportunity they can have a conversation with us, and they could have a robot free for 2 months, for 60 days.
Right.
So
You've beaten me too. So I was just about to say, what does that first stage look like with that conversation with you, Kaneo? It's probably I'm sure it's not going to be an automated robotic phone call. It's going to be a lovely you or somebody else at the end of the phone. I guess the first stage is to find out about the business, isn't it? Find out where the business is, as we would do with anybody calling us, and what is it we can do to help and find out where the business is at the moment. But sorry, you carry on. So you say a free robot for 2 months.
Yes. So again, we'll spend time with them understanding their business, similar to what you do with the business health check, but this is more of a process health check. Understand the process, the return on investment that they can get, and if it meets the criteria, we can actually build a robot to free up time for them. So the criteria really is, can we free up at least 20 hours a month for the business? And if the answer is yes, then we'll build a robot for them to use for 2 months, just to get a sense of what value that they can get as an organization from deploying robots to work with their human colleagues.
Brilliant. And I know, you and I have known each other for a long time, Kaneo, and I know that Synergy do some great work with business owners. And I've seen the result of some of the time that business owners are freed up by working with you. So absolutely would recommend, if time is precious to you right now, think of the time, particularly now over the Christmas period, having some of those robots on. I may be speaking out of turn there, because it might take more than time we've got before Christmas to get the robots in place. But potentially, I guess we've got 3 weeks to Christmas. It's potential still to get a couple of robots in place.
Yeah. Give it. Let's have a chat. It'll probably be the new year now, because we have a backlog to fill, Steve. Unfortunately.
When you say something, you start thinking, actually, is that possible? So I don't want to go and commit you to something that might just be a step too far, Kaneo. But right. Start the new year, should I say? Start the new year 2021 with some robots in place. It can really help to systemize your business. And if the robots that Kaneo has shown this lunchtime you're not quite ready for those. If nothing else, hopefully from this lunch and learn today, it's giving you the opportunity to just reflect and think about every aspect of your business. Going back to the slide that Kaneo showed at the beginning, we talk about in our 6 steps program every aspect of your business, and think about, is it marketing, HR, finances, the production process, the recruitment process. There are so many different systems and processes and actions in your business that may well be simplified. And the first stage is really to sort of do a step-by-step process chart. As we talked about last time we were together, Kaneo, making the cup of tea. Just start to map out some of your processes in your business. It will really help you to understand, the complexity and the challenges and where there may be time that can be saved in your business. So that I would say to anybody, regardless of whether you're going to go ahead right now with robots, start to understand what actually happens in your business, the systems in your business. And then from that point, both myself and Kaneo would love to have a conversation with you in terms of how we can both save you time, help you to get more out of your team. And I include robots in that, and ultimately how you can make more money in your business to give you that freedom and choice that we are both hearing from our clients they are so desperate to have, so that ultimately you do have that profitable commercial enterprise that works without you. But Kaneo, it's been great having you this lunchtime with us. So last one with you before Christmas, so I do wish you on behalf of everybody here at Action Coach a great Christmas. It's probably about 2.5 weeks now, I think, to go, isn't it? I'm not quite counting down, and my kids are on the chocolate advent calendar. But it's been great having you with us. I'd love to extend that warm welcome back to you in the new year, Kaneo, where perhaps we can look at HR or recruitment and onboarding, those sort of things, and look at how we can use robots in those parts of the business as well. And again, looking at systemization. But and I thank all of our listeners, those who've submitted questions this lunchtime. I'm just checking to see if there's no more, just checking we haven't missed anybody. Again, if you're listening to this on YouTube, if you're listening to it on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and you have got questions you want to ask after the Lunch and Learn is live this lunchtime, then please do submit them to us on those channels, or indeed all our contact details are here on the screen. Make direct contact with either myself or Kaneo if you want that free robot in your business for 2 months. Then Kaneo, I'm sure, would love to have a conversation with you. And we would love to invite you onto one of our free business health checks. It's an hour and a half to go through every aspect of your business and just have that conversation about where you've got great things going on, where your successes are, and also, of course, where there may be challenges, and we can give you some more support. But for now, thank you all so much. Enjoy your lunch. I hope you've learned something from it, and we look forward to seeing you here again on Monday, lunchtime at 12 o'clock for our next Lunch and Learn. But for now, take care and have a great afternoon.
Thanks a lot, Steve, and have a great one too. Bye now.
Okay.